Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I am joined today by Nina Tulio. Nina is a salon business success educator. She is on a mission to empower hairstylists and salon owners to rise above the chaos. Nina, how are you doing today?
I am beyond excited to be here with you because, well, first of all, I've watched you grow over the past few years. I mean,
Yeah.
because I've known you now for a pretty long time in terms of like socially knowing you on
Uh-huh.
social media.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about getting together on the podcast for the next, for the last couple months. So I'm
Yeah.
really pumped and excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
I agree. I'm assuming you remember this, but I'm sure the people listening probably don't know this. It had to have been maybe 2017, maybe. I mean, it was a long time ago. I remember you interviewed me for your blog.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
like the one touch point. I think we maybe had a couple Instagram lives where we chatted briefly, but isn't it so funny to just like from an outside perspective, know what's going on in people's lives for going on like half a decade at this
Hmm.
point, but never, that's what I was telling Nina before I hit record. Like, I don't know you personally really at all. So, like, I'd love to go from what I do know of you, this very, outside perspective look, get to know you a little bit better. And I'm just really grateful that about time we're making like a pretty, solid connection because we have so many, paths that I know have crossed over time and will continue to cross. So I'm just grateful to have a format to really sit down and get to know you on a deeper
Hey,
level.
awesome. Yes, thank you. And I said, listen, I'm just following your lead. So I am
Yeah.
here to just answer all the things.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I have been having people just kind of tell their story. I'm very curious by nature. Whatever feels appropriate to you, go back however far feels relevant. Start to kind of tell your story. And I apologize in advance. I'm going to interrupt you 15 times probably. I'm going to want to know more. We're going to go off on tangents, but I just really want to get to know you better than I ever have before.
Sure. So many moons ago, no. Back when I was a child, right? How long do you
Yeah,
really want me to go? No, I'll start from just the industry
that's what
experience.
most people do.
Yeah, for
That's where
sure.
it feels
I mean,
relevant.
I think I went to vocational school. I was the first to
Mhm.
sign up for my vocation program, and I went through there. It was the only area in school that I ever got A's because I was not the best student.
Okay.
And when I graduated, I had 250 hours to finish. So I went to Allentown School of Cosmetology and finished those 250 hours as a night student. And then from there, I ended up working at Circuit City, which is interesting, although Circuit City has been very helpful for me because I turned into a manager
I
at
don't even
Circuit
know what
City.
Circuit City is. What is
Circuit
that?
City was like a Best Buy. It was like the Best
Okay.
Buy of the day,
Okay.
of back in the day. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went to Circuit City and did their management training, which was so impactful. And this is when I'm
Okay.
like 20, 21 years old.
Okay.
So I did that. And then simultaneously, I found a cute little salon that I wanted to work for. So I was working part time. And then from there, I went on to a chain salon and I was a hairstylist there, which was really great for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned into that from a hairstylist to a manager at the
Mm.
chain, and then was their district manager. So I ran 8 salon locations, had 55 employees.
Wow.
And then the owners then turned,
Mm-hmm.
they were obviously my mentors. And
Mm-hmm.
Robin is still my mentor to this day. So we're
Love.
going back over 20 years.
Yeah.
And my other mentor, Ray, has since passed, but
Mm.
super kind, super smart people, really helped me with everything I know about this business.
Oh, incredible.
And from there, working as a district manager, they sold the
Mm-hmm.
salons. We end
Okay.
up moving to West Palm Beach, Florida, and we partnered together. So I was a partner in their business. We opened up 5 salons in one
Wow.
year, one
You knew
year.
you were opening five at one time, or it was one, then
Mhm.
another, then another?
It was kind of like one, but stacking next to next to
Wow.
next. It was a lot. It was a
Okay.
lot. But that was my college education. I really
Mm.
just learned everything about business at that point. And so moved to Florida. And then after that, because at that point I was already with them for about 8 years. And you know what? I wanted to fly and do something on my own. It was just time for me to just be solo. So I moved from West Palm Beach, moved back home to like outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then I started my own salon,
Mm.
commission salon back in 2006,
Wow.
and started that salon, was working behind the chair, obviously at that point, and running the business. First 5 years of that business, complete shit show, which I talk
Mm.
about a lot. Got into some
Mm-hmm.
really serious debt, had to sell my
Okay.
house to keep my salon at that
Wow.
point.
Well, that my I was the little squirrel in me was starting to get distracted and want to interrupt, but I don't want to spend too much time on these. So you went from Florida back to Pennsylvania and you had no clients. How'd you go straight to opening a salon?
It was tough. There was a 6 month gap in between, but or since I was originally from there,
You
I
had
had
people.
friends, family, and I
Okay.
had people. But listen,
Okay.
that's why the first 5 years of my business was a
I was gonna
complete
say
shit
hindsight being
show.
2020, would you not have coached past Nina to do that? Or you still feel like that was the right move?
I think it was the right move for me,
Yeah.
but it was very hard and it caused a
Hmm.
lot of debt. But I also made horrible financial decisions too.
For sure. It was part of your
So
learning curve. Yeah.
if you don't have a strong marketing strategy and tactic, it's
Hmm.
very hard to open with completely no one.
Yeah.
But it can work, right?
Yeah.
And it did work. It just I had to go through the trench in order for me to get out on the other side of that.
Hmm.
So, after I had my business, I got out of the mess of 5 years, moved from a maybe 600 square foot location to probably a 1,600 square foot location during the height of the recession.
Wow.
I was already broke at that time. So I took a really big risk moving locations, doubling
Wow.
my rent, but I had
What was the
to.
pull? Yeah. Well,
I
why?
had
Why
to
did you
because
have
I
to?
was in a very residential area
Mm-hmm.
and I knew we didn't have any room to expand our services. And I knew that if I stayed there, I would close.
Yeah. Especially with
So,
the recession, like this is
oh,
just going to shrink
absolutely.
and shrink and shrink. Yeah.
For
Mm.
sure. So I did. I borrowed $5,000 from my best friend. I
Wow.
had friends and family help me rehab the spot because I couldn't pay anyone to rehab it. And we moved into that salon business, that salon location. And then that was year 5 was when the business turned around. So
Wow.
from there, it was kind of like looking at myself, taking full accountability and responsibility for the mistakes that I made in my business,
Hmm.
and then start making good decisions, dialing in my brand, dialing in my core values, my culture, my mission, and then hitting it hard in the networking circuit. I was like
Wow.
Waldo, I was out everywhere. I
Yeah.
joined the Chamber of Commerce. I
Mm.
became a member of their Women's Business Council. I was the VP of programs. I made connections. That was my thing. I
Hmm.
love doing that. And then from there, I knew always that I didn't want to be behind the chair and I wanted to do education full time. That was always in the
Hmm.
back of my mind. Had to keep my salon a little bit longer than I wanted to.
Hmm.
But at year 11 is when I sold it. And it was a
Okay.
2 year process. It was about a
Wow.
2 year exit strategy. And then in 2016, I ended up selling the business and converting to what I'm doing now.
Our industry, it's hard to sell a business. Do you mind telling me a little bit more? And I'm sorry if you've repeated yourself because you've said that a
Nope.
million times, but I don't know that story.
It's a struggle. Let me tell you,
Hmm.
it's so hard to
Well, I
sell
feel
a
like I
business.
typically would not coach someone
Hmm.
to buying an existing salon. You know,
Hmm.
like I feel like our industry specifically, it's just like people have free will, like a client list. Like I feel like our industry is just very unique in that way.
Sure.
So yeah, how did you pull that off?
Well, it's kind of like, what are you buying and what are you selling?
Like
Those are
assets,
yeah,
basically.
correct. That's
Okay,
kind of what we're asking. And furniture depreciates, right?
for sure.
So, like normal businesses, you couldn't really use the calculation of what it would be to ask for a business or evaluation
Yeah.
because we are typically the face of our business. So if
And the
and
clients come for you. Yeah.
exactly, but that's why it was 2 years for me. It was a 2 year
Okay.
process because I positioned myself away from behind the chair.
Smart.
I gave my clients to my team
Smart.
and I worked behind the scenes I was still the face of my business, but
Mm,
it didn't need to function. It could function without me
where
being
you
behind
could
the chair,
step
is what
away.
I'm saying. It could
So
still be
did you find the
profitable.
buyer before that
Yes.
2 year process started? And you
No.
guys, no,
Nope.
you were just
Mm-mm.
knew that's what
Hmm.
you wanted to do, and you wanted to set yourself up into a good position to do that.
Yes. And listen, it's all
Wow.
about positioning. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be able to position yourself for the best buy. And
Mm-hmm.
so there will be people out there that want to buy a business, but the price has to be right. The
Yeah.
brand has to be, I mean, my business, because people ask me this all the time. Well, you must have sold because you were struggling. I said, absolutely not. I sold
Yeah.
because I was thriving.
Mm.
My
I mean, that's the
business
only
was
way you could successfully sell a salon. If not, you're
right.
selling old shampoo bowls. That's all you're really
Exactly.
selling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
my business was 17 to 23% profitable for years and years and
Wow.
years. It was growing 20 to 30% year over year since year 6.
Mm.
So I had that credibility behind me to do that. That's why I sold it. And plus, I
Yeah.
was tired. To be
Yeah.
100% honest, I tell people I was
You wanted a different
exhausted.
lifestyle. I mean, being an
Yeah.
educator and being a salon owner are two 1 trillion% different career paths. Your day to day looks completely different. I
Yes.
mean, the finances look completely
Hmm.
different. It's you knew you wanted that. So you said you knew you always wanted to go into
Hmm.
education. I mean, you're saying like from day one, like when you opened the salon, you knew one day you'd sell it, or when did
Yeah.
that
Oh, for
drop
sure.
in?
Well, here's the thing. My mentors owned over 200 hair salons.
Mm,
So I learned from them. And
from
they would
that
always
kind of
say,
style.
every day they'd say, do not become ball and chain to the chair, and
Wow.
make sure that you have a plan in place so you can sell this business when you're ready,
Mm,
because your strengths are not behind the chair. Your strengths are
mhm.
growing people. They
Yeah,
ingrained that in my soul.
I love
So I
that.
already knew when I started, I wanted to sell by year 5. That didn't happen
Mm,
because I couldn't get my financial shit together.
fair.
So that's why year 11 is when the time was right for me. But
Wow.
I think, yes, can you sell a service-based business? You absolutely can, but there is a lot of positioning. There is a lot of prep work that has to go into it. And I did find my buyer, but, it's not easy these days to find a buyer for a
How
salon
many
business.
stylists did you have when the business sold?
6.
Okay, and they all stuck with the new owner?
They did. There are some things that I
Okay.
can't talk about just
Okay,
because we
fair.
have,
Totally fair.
NDAs in place.
Yeah.
But yes, they did. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, that's fascinating. Then how'd you find the buyer?
It was kind of like cold calling.
Okay.
Like,
Wow.
hey, I know someone that's selling a business.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, would you be
Yeah.
interested in knowing, like, are you interested? Are
And
you,
here's
and
the, profit margins. Here's the, so yeah, if somebody's in a space of trying to grow their investments. And
right.
was the person that you sold it to in the industry at all or no?
Yes, they were. But here's the
Wow.
thing, before you ever give any information away, you absolutely have to sign. They have to sign an NDA. Like,
Okay.
do not give any information. Like, I didn't give any of my information out. I just said, I know someone's selling a business. Are you interested? Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more? Well, it's in Allentown. It has 6 stylists. It's about
Mm-hmm.
1,600 square feet. But if you want to know more, then you're going to have my attorney send you an NDA, and then we can talk. So
Wow.
do not share any of your personal and business finances until that person that's interested signs an NDA.
Wow.
That's super
Yeah.
important.
This is fascinating. I don't know if I've ever talked to anyone who has sold a salon super successfully. Again, I think it does come down to the assets. How much is everything worth in there? But a
Sure.
lot of people want to rebrand anyway when they move. So I'm really glad you went there. That's very interesting. So if somebody's listening to this, they own a salon, maybe they're in your year 4, maybe they're in your year 10. Who knows what their
Hmm.
situation is? What would you say if you just kind of planted the seed to them? They're like, "Oh, I actually could sell this one day." What would you say to somebody in that position?
Well, the things that you have to really think about are sales. So you have to focus on having a good amount of sales and
Mm-hmm.
consistent sales. You
Mm-hmm.
have to focus on a solid profit margin. And as a commission salon owner, what I work and coach to is 20% profit.
Okay.
And not that anything less than that is bad. Believe me, the average commission salon owner makes 8% profit in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure that you have tax returns for 2 years, that you have consistency of growth, sales, and profit
Mm-hmm.
for at least 2 years, and that you have solid systems in place. So when someone is interested in buying, they're looking for strong team, they're looking for
Mm-hmm.
solid systems, they're looking for a good brand. They're
Did you
looking
have management in place when you
I did
sold
not.
it?
No,
Wow.
it was just
Okay.
me. Yeah.
They took in on that role.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
for me. No,
fantastic.
for me, I think it was just that the positioning that I worked toward.
Yeah.
I was the face of the business, but my team was cranking. I mean, I love my team to this day. I ride with my team. I'm close with
Mm-hmm.
them. I love them. They know I'd do anything for them.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to set them up too, where they felt comfortable. And so I could have them be making bank. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now I took a hit on my profit. To be honest, when
Mm-hmm.
you do that and you shift and you get away from behind the chair, your profit margin's
You're,
going to sink
but you also knew
a
that
little
that's
bit.
where you were going. Yeah.
Correct. But, you can explain that to your buyer because they're going to
Mm-hmm.
see how the profit margin shifted because I'm no
Mm-hmm.
longer behind the chair, but you're getting a little bit more stability knowing that if I was doing my business
Mm-hmm.
behind the chair, I was doing, back in 2014, 2015 at the height, I was, of course, well over 6 figures just in my
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
And our average ticket was, it's not low, but it was on the lower. We're not
It's not like
like
this
we're
was some
seeing
crazy
now
extension
150,
specialty. Yes. Yeah.
so yeah, I think that you have to position yourself well and you have to know
Mm.
your numbers and the finances have to be in order, hands
Yeah.
down.
Love that. That's incredible. And I love that you said it was a 2-year plan. Like you knew,
Yes.
okay, we're getting close. We're kind of hitting that. Let's
Hmm.
start shifting things so that I can seamlessly step away from this. That's
Sure.
fascinating. Okay. So then you go all in on education. What did that look like?
Yes.
From what year did you say that was? 20.
Tough. So 20 started education in 2017.
Okay.
And you mentioned that owning a salon is different than being an educator. And listen, I want to say this loud and clear because I feel
Hmm.
like a lot of people want to become educators. They just don't
Hmm.
understand how much hard work goes into it.
Yeah.
I have I would say the first 5 years of this education platform, I
Yeah.
almost worked as hard or harder than being a salon owner.
Wow.
Because here's the thing, growing an education business, growing a salon business, growing a restaurant, any business you invest in, it's going to
Mhm.
take a lot of time, energy, and money. And
Yeah.
so there were days, in year three ish, year four, where I was like, oh my God, like I'm cranking, I'm working 60 hours a week. But
Mhm.
it's different because I wasn't managing a team. When you
Mhm.
lead a team of people, now you have an extra layer of responsibility.
Yeah.
I have a team with me. They're all independent contractors. I don't have anyone W-2 on my team.
Wow.
So it's a different kind of movement. My
Mhm.
team came first.
Yeah.
Everything was about my team.
Yeah.
Always people first. And if you want a commission business to thrive, you got to put your people first, period.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
servant style type of leadership. And that's how I lead today. That's what I talk
Yeah.
about. That's how I led them. And so I think you kind of have to understand if you want to go in education, it is not going to be this like residual income type. I can sit back and, eat
Passive.
popcorn and,
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
like chill and have some rosé. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're going to be grinding it out
Yeah.
for a
Yeah. Or you
while.
could do that. You just won't make any sales, which is
Sure.
as goes for any business, and I think a lot
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
people do that. Here's this thing. They think once they put this baby out to the world that if you build it, they will come, and then nothing happens. And
Right.
those, like you and I and a lot of other people that have really put in the work for years and years, you realize this is intense. It's still
Yes.
intense. It's going to stay
Yes.
intense. I know it is, but hopefully you have that drive behind you enough that it's that's where you're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
So you went into education. Obviously, that can take so many different formats.
Yeah.
What is like your life right now? What is I know you have a podcast. I know you have
hmm
courses. I'm not sure if you have memberships. What does Nina Tulio even offer right now? And what's your week look like right now?
I mean, my week looks a lot like it's a lot of creating content. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of creating video. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of creating, writing captions.
Yeah.
It's also creating a lot of blogs, coaching one-on-one. I do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that, although
Mm-hmm.
I've, kind of scaled back a little bit on that. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I have courses. So I have a course for independence called Make That Money, just focuses purely on pricing and profit. So
Love it.
increasing revenue, increasing profit, dialing pricing, price per minute, price per hour. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have a course that's live once a month where we meet like a mastermind, and that's synergy.
Awesome.
But honestly, my focus this year and last year was really heavily on my in-person
Mm.
education, my speaking engagements, and really growing that part of my business, which
Yeah,
I absolutely love.
that's
So that's where
amazing.
I've been living. I'm on the plains. I live on plains. That's where
And
I'm
I
at.
have a Soul Tribe member who it was her very first Soul Tribe call. She came on, she was at one of your classes and she had to step away. And she said that to get on the call. And I was like, that's so funny because I just got an email from Nina like a month ago and I'm going to have her on the podcast. And I have been hearing nothing but amazing things. So, what are the in-person classes look like? I just selfishly want to know. And I'm not even trying to sell you right now. I just want to know what they consist of.
Thank you. I do remember someone stepping away. I'm
It
like,
was
yeah,
Sharice.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
do your thing. Like, go. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah. That class was a hands-on business class. So they
She
bring their
loved that
iPads.
class. She had nothing but great things to say about it.
Oh, good. And that was such a great group of people, so
Yeah.
kind. But yeah, with the hands-on classes, they bring their iPad, they bring their computer, they
Mm.
prep work, so they get all their finances together before they come in. And we do the budget worksheet individually for their business, and we do their price
Amazing.
per minute, price per hour individually for their business. And that's one style of that's one style of education that is
Hmm.
hands on. That is
Hmm.
typically for less than 25 people.
Okay.
I can't manage that more than that because it's so hands
That's a
on that I
lot.
have to be
Yeah.
present. And
Hmm.
then we have the bigger events where it's working with oligo professional and working with
Hmm.
their distributors and doing events where it is all business education,
Yeah.
but could be a collaboration with other artists, or
Hmm.
it's hero, for Masters of Balayage, which thankfully, I'm so grateful I've been asked back a third time
Awesome.
for Mob. Love Ryan, love what they're doing. And so then it's those classes, which could be 6, 7, 800 people. So
Amazing.
it really varies, but I just love meeting people in person. I love hugging people.
Hmm.
I love getting energy. I love watching people have shifts in front of my eyes.
There's nothing like it.
That
Yeah.
just moves my entire soul. And I'm sure you can relate to that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I know you said you had six stylists, and that is very special too, and growing people in that very
Mhm.
intimate way. But there, it is a different. experience. And even
Sure.
I compare, I never owned a salon in between, going from behind the chair to mostly Soul Tribe. But like it was almost like in the beginning, the rush with the client. It was like, oh my God, this is addicting. I love this. Is so exciting. And then after a while, it started to kind of fade. And I needed
Yeah,
that next kind of rush, that next excitement. And so I totally understand what you're saying in person, especially when we've been doing digital for so long. There is just
sure.
absolutely nothing like getting in person with
Yes.
people and seeing transformation take place. That's incredible. Okay, so Nina like totally has her stuff together. Your, media kit, everything you sent me. And so she gave me a few talking points and ideas of directions we could go. And one that stood out to me that I feel like I've had this conversation lots behind the scenes, but I definitely have never had it on the podcast. So I'm excited to go there. Is new school versus old school leadership. She put that as
Hmm.
like one of her, things that she can go on and on and on about. And so I'd love to hear your take on that and what that means to you. And then we'll go from there.
Well, here's the thing with new school, old school. I've been talking about this for a while because listen, our industry has shifted since 2020, big time.
The
And
world has, yeah.
the world has,
Yeah.
and but particular to our industry, things
Mhm.
have changed significantly. And when I've been in this business for 27 years. So going back to the old school mindset, a couple things that come to mind to me is the way that we're leading,
Mhm.
because a lot of old school, not everyone, but a lot of old school lead from a space of fear. And the
Mhm.
new school mindset is leading from a space of confidence. So the
Yes.
more dialed in you are on your brand, your core values, your mission, your
Mhm.
beliefs, your culture, what you stand for, right?
Mhm.
The
Give
more
me some
solid.
examples of leading by fear because I know there's going to be salon owners listening to this and they hear that and they just assume that's not me. What are some
Oh
examples
yeah,
of
no,
leading by
I'm
fear?
absolutely. We'll go into that. I think
Yeah.
with when you get these things dialed in first, we got to create the foundation to
Mhm.
then allow you to lead more
Mhm.
confidently. Because
Yeah.
if you don't know who you are, everybody looks good, clients and employees,
Mhm.
and you are not going to attract the people that you want to have in your business. And then without that, you don't have systems.
Mhm.
So when it comes to fear-based leadership,
Mhm.
I'll give you some examples. Fear-based leadership would be, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this,
Yeah.
that stylists are going to leave, they're going to take my clients.
Mm.
First of all, clients are not owned by anyone. The
Yes.
clients can go wherever they want to go.
Mhm.
And the way that I would handle something in my salon, if someone were to leave, now there are certain instances where things need to shift. This can be very situational. However,
Mhm.
we should be calling the client and giving the client an option.
Mm.
Hey, Susie, just want to let you know. And I did this, I had this on a video on a reel that I spoke when I
Yeah.
spoke in Dublin for Forest. Hey, Susie, just want to let you know that stylist Kelly is no longer with us. We wish her
Yeah.
the best. I just want to let you know that you can stay here with us. We have a plethora of stylists that can take care of you and serve you. Or if you want to go with her, that's okay too.
We'll give you that
Whatever works best
information.
for you
Yeah.
is going to be best for us. And if you go
Mm.
with her, we leave the door open. You can come back anytime, right?
Mm.
These are the conversations. But the fear based is, oh my God, they're going to take my clients. Oh my God, I'm going to train them and they're going to leave.
Yep.
I'm going to train. Well, guess what? If you don't invest in your stylists,
Mhm.
they're going to leave bitter.
Regardless.
I
Yeah.
would rather have them leave better,
Yeah.
because being a true leader means mentorship and guidance beyond your salon. So
Mm.
when like, I would always think to myself with my team, I want to do the work now with my leadership so I can guide them, coach them, love them, nurture them, hold them accountable. So when
Mhm.
they leave me, they're better. So
When,
they
not
can
if,
go
but when. Yep.
when, right?
Yep.
The other thing is the fear based is I'm going to lose my people.
Mm.
They're going to leave you. You
Yep.
have to, but the fear will, if you operate from a fear based space, you don't have systems, you don't have
Mm.
standards, you don't have
Mm.
policies, you don't have structure, because you're nervous if you
You're
do all
always
of
on
those things.
defense.
Exactly. If you do them, well, then I'm going to lose my stylist. I'm just
Hmm.
giving you some examples of the fear. There's many things we could talk about, but those are the ones that always come to mind. And if you're not investing in your team, your business isn't
Hmm.
growing. There's a
Mm.
statistic out there from Inc. magazine. If you're not coaching your team at least 40% of the time, your business is not growing.
Wow.
So when I talk about a people first culture, it's a servant style of leadership that means that we put the wants and the needs of the team first.
Yeah.
And when we focus on that, then they perform better.
Mm.
When they have a brand they can buy into and that they know, love, and trust you, they perform better, they engage better, and employees that are engaged perform better.
Yeah.
So we have to start with the investment of the team. But if we're fearful,
Mm-hmm.
we don't ever allow our full selves to shine as leaders. They
Mm-hmm.
know that, and then they get frustrated, they get
Yeah.
irritated, they feel slighted, and they
Yeah.
leave.
And your stylist can see that, but
Mhm.
honestly, even your clients
Oh,
can see that.
yes,
When you stay
absolutely.
stagnant for too long and the
Mhm.
what got me here won't get me there kind of thought
Mhm.
process, like once you build something really great and you think, okay, now we just got to maintain this,
Sure.
that's never the case, and that's I can think of specific people that I know are struggling with this currently that are in my world. So can I ask you, I don't know if you have a perfect answer for this or not, having the fear but not
Mhm.
leading from the fear are two different things because you're probably going to have that fear.
Mhm.
The thought's going to pop into your head. It's going to
Mhm.
keep you up at night when you're crunching numbers. I mean, of by human nature, we're always looking to like
Sure.
protect ourselves, so
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
how do you tell a salon owner to make that jump from like having that fear and whether it's changing their mind to truly understand it or just pushing past, even if that's still how you're feeling, here's how you're going to act instead. What would you say to that?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we are going to have fear.
Mm-hmm.
Being an owner and being responsible for other people, whether it's
Scary.
one person or 15, it's a very, very scary thing.
Yeah.
So, the thing that I like to say is the why has to outweigh the fear always.
Mm.
So, my why is bigger than my fear. And I have a lot of anxiety that I struggle with. So, I have to really lean into my why is bigger than my fear. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I showing up?
Mm.
That will help you understand something to tie it to.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're going to have days where you can't pay payroll. That shit is
Mm.
scary. There
It
is a
is.
fear there, right? However, we have to understand that fear isn't reality.
Mm.
I find that in order to move through fear, we have to take clear and concise action.
Yep.
So when you have fear and you have fearful thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, though, if you have fearful thoughts, what we think is what we feel is what we do. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
a fearful person, you're going to lead from fear.
From that. Mm-hmm.
So we have to, yes, they're separate, but we have to get the leadership under control.
Shift your
And
identity a bit. Yeah.
yeah, and this is where the foundation comes in, knowing who
Mhm.
you are, who you serve, how you're going to serve them better than anyone else. That's clients and team.
Mm.
Dropping the ego, making sure that you're not leading from a space of ego because that will attract people who also have ego.
Mm.
And understanding who you are as a brand. Like these are just foundational things that when I got more in tune with who I was as a brand, it
Mm.
allowed me to dial in the stylist that I wanted to spend time with. So
Yeah.
what I suggest is have the fear, feel the fear, right?
Mm.
But you have to have a clear plan of action on the direction of your business, understanding that you have to pivot your business. So we never change the goal, we change the approach.
Yeah.
And understanding that fear means the why is bigger. So I'm going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my biggest piece of advice. Step outside this beauty industry and get leadership training. Now,
Yeah.
of course, I coach and teach to a lot of leadership. It's in all of my courses, and I teach to
Mm-hmm.
not all my courses, just my synergy course. I
Yeah.
teach to the servant style leader.
Mm-hmm.
However, go on masterclass. I follow a lot of athletic coaches. That's where I
Mm.
live for learning
Love that.
leadership. Live on masterclass. Go take Simon Sinek classes. Read Simon Sinek's books. Go into Tony Robbins. Learn from Marcus Lemonis, people who are running businesses.
Whatever calls to you. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to find those are just some of my tops, but I
Yeah.
think it's getting out of the beauty industry and learning leadership. Disney has courses on leadership. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things that you can do, but first you have to be in tune and in touch with your why and know that your fear always has to outweigh. I'm sorry, the why always has to
Yeah, I
outweigh
want to
that
sit at
fear.
that why for a little bit because I do also feel like I think it's inside of all of us, but
Hmm.
there has even been times where I've said, like, what is your why to people or like, tell
Sure.
me more, let's get a little bit deeper. And I can tell their brain is still sitting on the surface. And they're like,
Yeah,
well,
it's
obviously, I want
tough.
to make more money. I want to be able to retire one day. You have to get to that next layer
Hmm.
of why that is so beyond you. That's more
Yes.
legacy, that's
Yep.
leaving a bigger impact on the world. And it's sometimes it's hard to get people to go down to that level. So I would say if you are, feeling, if anything Nina's saying about this fear-based leadership, if you're like, shoot, I am in that. And then she's saying, oh, yeah, your why has to be deeper. And you're like, I don't really know what my why is. Or some people are like, my why
Sure.
is my children. Like they're
Yes.
always why I'm doing this. Deeper than that, like
Hmm.
bigger, because if the why is still always you, I feel like sometimes when the numbers aren't working or something like that,
Hmm.
it's not deep enough. It has to be completely, I think, selfless. There has to be a layer of why that is
Sure.
completely selfless
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
keep you
Oh,
hanging in
absolutely.
during those really hard times.
1,000,000%. And I think it is that deeper sense of like, yes, but listen, your children can absolutely be your why.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it your
Mm-hmm.
children? What is it about them that
Mm-hmm.
makes you show up every day? What is it about their future that makes you show up every day? What is it about your finances that makes you
Mm-hmm.
show up every day? So absolutely, your children can be your why. This is very personal to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the deeper sense is, I just, from my point of view, is for me, it's about impact.
Yeah.
What kind of impact can I make on someone, small or large? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me. But if I'm getting on a plane and I've had severe anxiety with flying,
Mm.
I always have to think to myself, I'm hoping that I get to change someone today.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that someone can see their
That will make
value
this worth
today.
it.
I'm hoping that someone understands that they are super talented and that they have been selling them short and we can have a shift today.
Mm.
So maybe asking yourselves those deeper questions. If it's your children, ask yourself those
Mm-hmm.
deep, like, what does the impact look like? What does the value look like that you're providing to your
Mm-hmm.
children? And what does that
Mm-hmm.
mean in terms of long-term and legacy? I love
Mm-hmm.
how you broke it down because it does have to be so much deeper. And you know what, guys? Typically, when we become burned out, it's because we've become disconnected from that why.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we have to remove ourselves a little bit and come back. And listen,
Yeah.
I've made 10,472 million mistakes
Yeah.
in my business now and in my leadership salon owner role.
Yeah.
And I think we have to understand that we're resilient.
Mm-hmm.
We are very resilient souls in this industry. And resiliency doesn't mean constant going. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
means taking a pause.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's good to take a step back and say, why am I really doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean for me? Because it may mean something different than it did 5 years ago.
Totally. And maybe you're due for a shift or something is
Yes,
meant to change. And that's why obviously the children and things like that, like I hear so many people say that and I get that. Obviously my husband, my children, those are
sure.
my whys too. But if you're gonna be in a leadership role, I think there
Hmm.
needs to be a why that exists of the people that you're leading.
Oh,
Or else it's
absolutely.
so hard to be like showing up every day how you need to. And like
Right.
you were saying with the example of, our stylist left, so we're gonna, serve her really well and
Hmm.
freely give all of that. Like it has to come from that place of
Sure.
really wanting the best for people. What would you say? I'm just going to ask this because this has been an example of someone in my inner circle recently that has dealt with something like this. What would be your tip of advice, knowing this, not coming from a fear place, but coming from a growth place? If someone had a stylist leave on really, really, really nasty terms, like this,
Mm-hmm.
like they probably should have let him go long before it
Hmm.
got to the point where it got really yucky and
Hmm.
really bad, what would be some advice for to keep that? Because it's they so bad in that position want to be like, no, screw them, blah, blah, blah. Like how do you stay in that even when people get bad and not right?
Oh, well, I'll speak from experience because I've
Yeah.
lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it and I feel for the people.
Yeah.
It's very hard to be a business owner. It's very hard to be vulnerable and put yourself out there because that's
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing every day. You're
Yeah.
saying, trust me, look at me. I'm here for you. I'm supporting you. I'm opening up my business to you, my home to you in a sense, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all the things, right? And when things go south, it's hard to take the high road.
It's so hard. Yeah.
But I think that pause is necessary. So don't
Mm.
react.
Time.
Pause is very, and I'm just reliving the moment that I had with one of my stylists, and I'm thinking of the steps that I had to take. And first, what I think you have to do is reassess why it happened.
Mm.
And this is the hard part. Because we're not going to go out here bad mouthing people, running our mouths, going on social. Like we're just not. That's just not
No.
who we are, right?
Yeah.
So we internalize that. So I do believe it's important to talk to someone that you can trust so you can get
For
it
sure.
out because it is
Mm-hmm.
very traumatic. It's a very traumatic experience. So talk to someone you trust to let it out. The other side of this is the accountability and self-reflection.
Mhm.
Because with everything that happens in business, it is a life lesson. And so what I'm hearing what you said about your person is we kept them too long, which I've been there. So
Mhm.
I'll give you my example. It's like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that. What can we do so that doesn't happen again?
Mhm.
Right?
Trust that
What
initial.
shifts can I
Mhm.
make in my own leadership that I can actually listen to my gut and know that
Yeah.
I'm probably doing a disservice by keeping them?
Mhm.
So, yes, does it stink? But you also have to take accountability for what happened and why it went on so long. And then
Mhm.
next time it will be shorter. Next time
Yeah.
you'll listen to your gut. Next time you'll pay attention. But in terms of the healing of all of it, because there is healing that has to happen because there's a lot of hurt there. It's
Mhm.
the time will heal it, but it also is, and this was very helpful for me, is I went 1000% in on my business.
Mm.
Like if we're going to have a breakup and
Mhm.
then you're going
I'm
to
gonna be
go and do
better
your
for it.
thing,
Yeah.
I'm going to dial in that
It's
shit
almost like
tighter
the
than you can.
post breakup glow up kind of
Right?
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and that's what I did. And I
Yeah.
dialed in my team and we did it together and look for,
Mm.
we're not gonna lean on them for support because it's not their problem, but they need to know that you're okay, that you're gonna continue to support them. And so go harder on the thing that you're trying to grow
Mm.
and also take care of self.
Mhm.
Make sure that you are healing you and you are talking about it and you are sharing with people you
In
trust.
the appropriate formats. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. We're
I
not
love
doing
that you said
that.
that
Yeah.
because being an owner can, I mean, I don't know from experience, but from how many owners I get to speak to, it can be so lonely and
Sure.
isolating.
Yeah.
And sometimes, in an emotional state when people act the wrong way or
Mm-hmm.
do things that they probably didn't think all
Mm-hmm.
the way through. I love that you said you have to process this. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't need to process it publicly and you don't need
Right.
to process it with that
Right.
stylist that
Yeah.
left. You need to do that quietly on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a you thing. And I love turning any hurt and pain into how can this fuel me
Mm-hmm.
and make a lasting impact beyond this to make me better? What can I learn from this and quadruple down on
Yeah.
that so
Yep.
that I'll never be in this situation again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Because
I'll
it
be
will
way
make you
more
better.
equipped for it.
It will make you stronger for sure. I feel for people who go through it, and it is a very trying time.
Yeah.
But and man, you got to bite your tongue because I think of things sometimes and I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I kept my mouth shut because I'm a very direct person.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I want you to understand is that when you're an owner, you're not only speaking for you, you're speaking for your whole brand,
Mm.
which means that you're speaking for the other team members. So if you come out
Mhm.
of pocket and you start talking out of the side of your mouth on social,
Mhm.
it's a reflection on them. So
Mhm.
again, the why has to be bigger. And for me, with
Yes.
my salon, it was my team. They were always my why. They were why I showed
Mm.
up. So I didn't want to disappoint them. And keeping the person actually disappointed them. So I
Mhm.
already disappointed them. So here's the other side of it too. I think that we have to have a sense of humility and humbleness that comes when we screw up in our businesses.
Yeah.
And for me, I disappointed them by keeping this person too long.
Mm.
And I didn't listen to them when they told me things. And I apologized for that. And I sat them
Mm.
down and I took ownership for that. You have to, because
Yeah.
they start to lose trust in you.
Mhm.
But when you say, "Hey, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I disappointed you. And
Mhm.
I promise you that I'm not doing that shit again because I've
So in
learned."
that situation, is that a drop everything all hands on deck meeting, like, and an
Yes.
owner just be in a vulnerable space? Because that's the thing. You want to
Mhm.
like, as an owner, you want to like not draw attention to it. And sometimes you're like, oh, I just won't say anything to the other girls, but like they know what's happening. There's conversation happening behind the scenes. I love that you just said when things get rocky, you learn a hard lesson. It's gonna be the hardest time to shine
Mhm.
a light on you and say, here's, but the trust that that will give someone of like the humility that you can take ownership of that and speak it out loud, the culture that that will create, I
Mhm.
think is genius. I love that.
Well, sure, you have just got to be vulnerable, and
Mm-hmm.
honest. And I think you don't have to air all the things, but you've got to
Mm-hmm.
own your part in it. And
Yeah.
that was my part was I screwed up. I kept her
Yeah.
too long. Like, why would I do that? That's shame on me, but I
Mm-hmm.
can promise you that that won't happen again. And I can promise you I'm going to go harder for my business now than I ever
Mhm.
have. And I'm hoping that you'll come along with me.
Yeah,
You know,
and be
that was
here
kind
for
of the
you guys.
conversation.
And
Yeah.
open up an invitation again for what else are you guys thinking? What else are you guys feeling now that we've kind of
Sure.
worked through this? It's almost like in a relationship, like, or a friendship. Once you go through hard things together, it just like solidifies the bond even better. And I think
Absolutely.
owners can totally lean into that because you're going to
Yes.
go through those together.
Yes. And I think individual conversations are important too. There's a time and
Yeah,
a place for the team
for sure.
meeting, but then on the back end, like, how did this affect you?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it because I want to
Mm-hmm.
know so we don't ever have to visit this shit again, like on
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
on my bad, you know? So yeah, I think it's important to do individual conversations too.
I love that. Another thing I had written down, and I feel like we've totally touched on this people first culture, but I would love for you to just put that in your own words, like what exactly it is that means, and any owner or leader in any way, shape, or form, or even any stylist that knows they want to be in a culture like this. What does the people first culture mean to you, and what are some ways that people can start to bring that into their businesses?
So when it comes to creating a people first culture, you know, I think when people think of a people first culture or a servant style leader, they think that the team gets to do whatever they want.
Mm,
They get to create all the boundaries, they get to do all the things. And that's not actually, it's not what it is. When we create a people first culture, we coach and we guide based on the goals and the dreams of the team.
mm,
So I'll use an example. So if you
yeah.
were on my team, we would have monthly coaching sessions that would dial in your goals of
Mm,
buying a new house or a new car or being an educator or getting out of debt. I mean, I used to help my team get out of debt. I'm no financial advisor here,
mm-hmm.
but I learned from being broke and going into debt and then having to
Yeah.
get out on my own that I can share things with them. And I would ask you, okay, Lisa, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of this, outside of this industry,
Yeah.
outside of numbers every single day, what are you looking to do and grow? You
Let's
know,
go
if you want
bigger.
to buy a
Yeah.
house, okay, perfect. If you want to be an educator, perfect. Now I know that every time I coach you and work with you every month, every single conversation that I have with you is going to be wrapped around the house
Mm,
or your education.
love.
So when we're creating a people first platform and people first culture, it is knowing that if I work with them and coach them on their goals and dreams,
Mm,
they have a bigger why and purpose to show up because they're working toward their goals and dreams. They're not working toward mine. I
mm,
think what happens in the ownership space is let's talk about numbers, let's talk about, you know, pre-booking, let's talk about retention. These are all important things, but
yeah.
when you do that time and time again and you don't include their own goals and dreams, they get the sense that they're just working to help you grow your business
Totally.
and they're not
Totally.
getting anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, another example of creating a people first culture is really making sure that inclusivity exists,
Mm,
conversations exist, listening exists,
yeah.
their thoughts and ideas coming to you with those exist. More than just coaching sessions, it's like, hey, let's have a little session where we bounce ideas off of each other. It doesn't mean that you're going to do all the things, but they need to
But
know that they're involved and included.
and if they ever have a thought or anything like that, there's always an open invitation for it to be
Yes,
received. Yeah.
absolutely. And the other thing with people first culture is to really focus on creating a safe,
Mm-hmm.
fun environment.
Mm,
And it has to be fun. They have to be, you know, doing their work, right? We all have a
totally.
job to do, but how can we make it fun? How
Mm,
can we make it where they want to come here and they want to spend time here and we're going to laugh and we're going to joke and we're going to support each other.
mm-hmm.
And the safety side of it is also so important when we're creating people first, because that's why when I coach and teach my owners, we create actionable core value statements. They're just not
Mm-hmm.
value statements, there's action behind them.
Mm,
So if one of those is respect, that's maybe one of their core values. It's not just we promise to be respectful of each other.
yeah.
No, we promise to be respectful by
Yeah.
listening, being open, and being honest in our conversations and
Mm,
understanding that, you know, it's that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be 10 paragraphs, but
mm,
typically we create 4 or 5 actionable core value statements.
I love that.
That's what people first means. It means that their goals and their dreams come first. And when you do that, guess what happens? Your
Mm-hmm.
business grows. You make more money,
Yeah.
they make more money, and everybody's happy.
Has the ripple effect, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mostly speak to commission owners. Would you say that this goes as well to booth rental salon owners? Like, where would you, obviously, an employee is different, but are you thinking that for somebody listening to this, if they have renters versus commission, should they be having these conversations on the same kind of time frame, or do you feel like that's completely separate and completely different? Because it is really tricky to integrate that culture into a booth rental position. I don't know if you coach a lot to that or not.
It's very different. I coach, yes, I coach a lot of commission and
Mhm.
hybrid salon owners, but I work with a lot of independents.
Mhm.
When you're a booth rental owner, you're a landlord.
Mm.
You have a very hands-off approach to the way you're running their business because they are running their own business under your brand.
Mm.
So, can you include people and can you cheer them on and
Mm.
can you guide them? Of course, we want them to be successful, but
Mhm.
we blur the lines where we're like, hey, we're having team meetings and yes, these are our core values and make sure you show up. That's a W-2 commission based
Mm.
model. However, when you are bringing on renters, you still want to make sure that you are interviewing them and that they fit the brand and
In
culture.
the culture,
Because
yeah.
you're still going to have a brand and culture as a rental owner that's
And they
created
can't
by
throw that
you.
off. Yeah.
Right. You have to, I mean, not hiring, but interviewing a renter is a
Hmm.
similar process to interviewing a W-2.
Yeah.
You want to take your time in doing that. But in terms of like having these coaching sessions and in terms of like making sure that they're following action statements and all of that, that's
Hmm.
typically not
That
happening
definitely
in
feels,
rental
yeah.
owners because it's more W-2. But
Hmm.
we still want the renters to feel like they're supported and they're
Yeah.
being cheered for.
So in a hybrid model, would you almost say that's like a perk of staying an employee as you get that high touch
Absolutely.
coaching? Yeah. And I
Yes.
think having that in your space, if you do have both, coming from a fear spot, I know a lot of owners are fearful for their
Mhm.
stylist to eventually want to go rental and lose
Sure.
that kind of commission. I think that's another layer of value that you bring by keeping them in that role. And if they're really ready to spread their wings and fly, like you said, they have to fit the culture. You can't, it would be a total energy suck if somebody came in and didn't fit that. But
Mhm.
I think it is good to differentiate those because I do think those
Yeah.
lines can get blurry. And I don't think it should be totally polar opposites, or else
Sure.
you're going to end up with some not good fits as rental.
Right.
But
Right.
as you were saying that, I was wondering, people that are listening to this, who should really be jumping and taking action on that when it comes to really going people first. And I think it is still good to know, even in a rental situation, not so much from like a coaching, but from a what is this that you're working towards and making sure that fits in the culture. Absolutely. Yeah, I love
Yeah, but also in a rental owner, you could have assistants, you could have
that.
receptionists, and that culture needs to be dialed in. Those are
Yeah.
hourly employees
Mm,
and they need to be put first.
yeah.
And so we're still working with them. We're still coaching them. We're still guiding
Mhm.
them. And, I just wrote a blog about the hybrid model and if it's for
Mhm.
you. And I wrote it about pros and cons for both, hybrid or, staying at commission or having a hybrid model. And I think that don't necessarily, and I've switched people over from commission to hybrid,
Mm.
but my model is different because I'm not suggesting bring in renters, bring in commission. I'm suggesting that if you are commission, we create a system and a success path. So when they're ready to go
If someone's
rent,
really craving
then we
independence,
know we
they
have the
don't have a
system.
glass ceiling.
We go
Yeah.
over the numbers, we go over
Mhm.
everything, taxes, so they know exactly what they're getting into because we want them to be successful
I
renters in
love
our
that.
space.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important. Okay, I feel like we could go on and on and on. I'm so tempted to like ask another question and go on a tangent, but we're getting close on time, so we can go ahead and wrap it up. Anything that I should include in the show notes? Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share today, Nina?
I think that first, thank you so much for having me. And
Of
thanks so
course.
much to everyone that's listening. I think, check out my Instagram because I live there. It's
Hmm.
just at Nina Tulio. And I have so many free resources. I have resources for the commission salon owner. I have downloads that will help you in terms of like, a success guide. If you want something like that. I live in the lane of profit and pricing. So I have profit calculators for free on my website.
Love.
I have pricing classes for free. Like there's so much that you can get from my website that is of value. And if you want to take things deeper, then you can check out my Make That Money course if you're independent, and you can check out Synergy if you're commission. But feel free to say hi on IG. I answer all of my DMs. I'm very accessible and I want to make sure that you know that I am here to serve you. So please, if you have questions, feel free to slide into my DMs at any time.
I love that so much. And thank you so much for coming on. I'm
Of
glad we could
course.
finally make this happen.
Yay.
And who knows, maybe this is the first of many. Maybe we'll
First
have
of
you back
many.
on because I feel like we could do quite a bit more. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you again, Nina, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.